Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call the governing board meeting to order. Uh, Is Adeline Lizarraga here?
She's about 5 minutes out.
She's 5 minutes
How
out.
about Karen? Karen, you're up. My friend.
Aaron, could you give us your full name?
Aaron Mixon,
And Aaron, which college are you at?
Mesa Community, no, the Mesa.
The Michigan. Would you do us the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I have on the agenda the student life reports for Mesa Community College. Aaron, would you join us once more?
President Gutierrez, members of the board, Chancellor Harper Marinick, members of the CEC, and guests, my name is Aaron Mixon. I am the student body president of the Mesa Community College. I'm here to present on behalf of the student government of Mesa Community College. Boom. ASMCC, past, present, and future. So these are our activities that we have did in the past, which was last semester, the 2015 to 2016 semester. The present, the activities that we have currently planned, and then the future, with hopes of having a long-standing legacy at Mesa Community College. Events from, it says from 2016, but it's events from 2015. One of the biggest events that we did last semester in the fall was we hosted a baby shower at Maggie's Place, which is a shelter for pregnant women. We gathered donations from the campus, students and teachers alike, and faculty members. Took it to the shelter where the women were staying. There was about 20 women, and we played baby shower games, counted diapers, those such things. It got me prepared for life real fast. As well as presented them with gifts. We did a voter registration week where we just tried to power through and get students and faculty and community members to register to vote, as well as a spirit week, which is probably our second biggest week. We saw a need to encourage student participation in our athletic events, and we did that, or we tried to help encourage that by creating a red zone at our basketball and football events. It's a section dedicated to students where ASMCC would every so often purchase food and condiments and beverages for the groups that attend who are students of Mesa Community College. We had a student forum which consisted of some administration, myself, and some other student leaders where students got to engage faculty and administration. And then after the forum, we had our student government debates. Me, who was a returning candidate, and then also my opponent debated each other as well as the other positions during that student forum. We had Water for Flint, where we partnered up with our chapter's Black Student Union in order to receive donation for water to assist the victims of the Flint, Michigan water crisis. And then lastly, we are in the midst of finalizing a student resource guide to help students find services outside of campus, shelter, food, and housing. Milestones from last year. As you all know, Mesa Community College drafted a letter and we advocated for the tuition increase, which the governing board voted on. We felt that it was necessary to take responsibility as students in our education outside of the classroom. We supported the student body by bridging the gap between administration and student population by us attempting to and coming up with ways to stay better engaged in campus life on both ends of the spectrum. And then we increased student awareness as far as ASFCC concerned by making sure that we didn't spend time in our offices as student leaders. We came out, made sure students understood what we did for them, as well as the resources offered at Mesa Community College. Current semester plans, we hope to support the administration in strengthening our our computer stuff capabilities on our campus, technology on our campus. We hope to use inter-campus resources to promote classes and degree programs offered at MCC. A couple of ideas that we came across us was use our journalism and our marketing students to compete in competitions that showcase the talents that MCC fosters, as well as maybe add a younger perspective to the way MCC does things as far as promoting to the youth and the up-and-coming college students. Facilitated dialogue between ASMCC and MCC admin to form a student evaluation for classes and instructors. Increase student representation in committees and panels. Again, this is just to encourage to have that student voice present at all administrative events. Increase participation with evening, night students in Red Mountain. Sometimes those populations are left kind of in the dark, no pun intended. Lastly, support. We want to see more of your lovely faces. By your lovely faces, we mean governing board. So we have election day party coming up. All political affiliations are invited. Just today celebrate, once again, our voting process, our democratic process of the United States of America. We would invite you to attend a governing board open forum for those who are campaigning for this election. And then as well as just show your faces to the student events. We want to see who you are. We want to know who you are. We want you all to get to know us on campus. And that is it. I am done.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Mr. Sarr.
Yeah, we had discussions regarding your efforts to bring all 10 campuses, student governments together more often. Have you made any I know it's the first week of school or the second week, but can you talk a little bit about what your goals are in that regard?
So the goal is it's to have a unified movement. The idea behind it is to utilize, again, our own resources on the campus to help promote what our colleges have to offer. And in bringing all the student leaders from all colleges together, we hope to show a unified front, have a bigger party involved. And that also helps us with organizing events cross campus. We are all in different locations, but I believe that we can come together as just one united college district. It'll be beneficial to not only the individual campuses, but also to the community overall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments, questions? Thank you very much, Aaron.
Thank you.
Next item is the Adjunct Faculty Association report. Gail Hassey. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Close, it's Haas.
Haas.
It gets mispronounced a lot.
For a guy named Gutierrez, I understand completely.
We'll see if I do well on yours. So, President Gutierrez, members of the board, Chancellor Dr. Harper Marinek, members of the CEC, guests, my name is Patricia Gail Haas. I answer better to Gail, but I'm learning to answer to Patricia, so either one is fine. I'm the new AFA president, and I've been a teacher for a long time, so I'm a freelancer, but I'm going to try to be good and read my report. So welcome to a new year. I was excited today to get back with my students. I love being in the classroom. I want to inform you about the goals of AFA and for this new school year. We want to continue the work of our predecessors. We've had some solid growth in the AFA in the last few years, and we want to continue that growth. In consideration of last spring's adjunct workplace survey, we have some responses to that survey, and we want to zero in, work on some of the things that can be done in response to the survey. Adjuncts are literally the face of 60% of Maricopa to the classes, to our students, and our responses, our attitude, our reflections can have an effect on student success, student engagement, retention, and continued enrollment. And literally, our attitudes can affect student success. For many of us, we are working closely with our CTLs, in many cases as part of the professional development teams. MCLI has been very active and proactive in helping us build effective training for adjuncts, especially those that want to become residential. And we're also building on the Solve the Mystery programs and working this year to try to expand the understanding that adjuncts have if they're tracking to become residential, so they understand more about what the residential program, what the residential positions entail, so that they can do a more positive job of interviewing, plus be ready to hit the ground running when they do get positions. We've identified some C's to work on, and these come from the survey. We need to improve on communication. So we're working for better and more efficient communication, information sharing. So I've spent some moments learning about what's available to adjuncts and making a new category called adjunct perks and circulating that, including fun things like the employee store. Adjuncts aren't aware that they have some of those benefits, so we're identifying and clarifying some of those. We're trying to identify our emails so that when the adjuncts get 2 pages of emails, they know which ones might be relevant to them. We are making a concerted effort to be as clear as possible about how to use AFPG funds and what we can do to make them more available and more readily available for adjuncts. And we're also beefing up the Day of Learning in October. It should be much stronger, content heavy, and we're looking for a good response. And you all are welcome to come October 8th to Gateway to our Day of Learning event. And then another C, many adjuncts want to contribute to their community. We have an unbelievably vast bank of knowledge and experience. I was talking to an adjunct last semester who worked on the Aswan Dam, and he's teaching a little math and engineering here just as a retired job. So that kind of experience just blows me away. There's a number of adjuncts at every campus who would be happy to serve on committees for curriculum and shared governance. And when you find the right match, just remember they're there and they're willing and ready to bring their expertise to the table and help support all of those committees that go on and on and on at each campus. And last, collegiality. Adjuncts who reported the strongest sense of belonging in their respective departments had a higher sense of satisfaction. Our survey did not have a way to measure it, but it's reasonable that a satisfied instructor is going to communicate a higher sense of belongingness to their students, and belongingness is a factor of retention. So I attended some great orientations and convocations last week, and last year there were several lunches and dinners and programs that celebrated adjuncts. I want to assure you that those have not gone unnoticed and unappreciated. They're very, very valuable to adjuncts. At my school, we found one adjunct that had taught 54 semesters. So that was amazing. It's easy for adjuncts to come teach the class and leave, and it's easy for them to feel invisible. And some are fine with that because that's why they adjunct, but there's others that are eager to belong to the community and eager to have some meaning and just share the community. So everyone I've worked with in the district and school administration, I've not found a single person that disrespects or feels like adjuncts are not valuable. So we have to figure out, AFA is going to work on figuring out how to communicate that to adjuncts so that they know it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haas. We have a few questions. Ma'am.
Thank you, President Gutierrez. Ms. Hawes, I have 3 quick questions. I'm not very good at acronyms. I want to know CTL, NCI and AFPG funds, please.
Okay. I thought I'm the only one that doesn't know the alphabet soup. AFPG funds is adjunct faculty growth funds, and it's a fund set aside that is sends adjuncts to conferences, seminars all over the country during the school year, during the semester that they're teaching. The CTL is the Center for Teaching and Learning, so that is on each campus the base for the classes, and there's a lot of interaction now between the adjunct reps and the CTL to figure out what kind of instruction the adjuncts need, what type they need. Does it need to be online? What times can it be available? What are they looking for? So that their work can be effective. And then what was my other one I missed? MCLI, Maricopa Center for Learning and Instruction.
And you didn't explain to me what NCI meant. You told me what it did, but you didn't tell me what the initials mean.
MCLI is that the one you mean? MCLI, the Maricopa Center for Learning and Instruction, is the district's kind of division to help with professional development. It's the group that I work most closely with, and they've been very supportive. So is that a good explanation? Maybe somebody else has a better one. I'm a newbie.
Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Hart.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Emeritus Awards are next. We have two. We will begin with Gateway Community College. Dr. Gonzalez.
May I approach the podium,
You may.
President? Good evening, President Gutierrez, governing board members, Chancellor Harper-Marinick, CEC, faculty, staff, and guests. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to recommend Mr. John Lampiano for faculty emeritus status. If I could have John please come stand next to me while I say some very good words about him.
I hope so.
It's so good to see John. It's been a few months, and we miss him dearly already. So John Lampiano has been a residential faculty member at Gateway for over 34 years. That's at least 68 semesters, right? For the first 22 years, he served as faculty in the medical imaging program. For the last 13 years, he has been the faculty director of Gateway Center for Teaching and Learning, or the CTL. So here's a live director of CTL standing before us. In his role as faculty, John taught classes in medical radiography, computed tomography, and magnetic resonance imaging. I'm not sure exactly what all of those entail, but it sounds extremely sophisticated. When he began at Gateway, there were fewer than 20 students enrolled in a medical imaging program. Today, through his work, he has more than doubled the number of students in that program. The program also boasts some of the best educational equipment in the country. John also collaborated with colleagues to offer new degrees in ultrasound and nuclear medicine and to expand continuing education opportunities throughout the state. In 2003, John became the first director of Gateway's Center for Teaching and Learning. The center has grown in size, scope, and effectiveness during his directorship. At its inception, the center was equipped with some chairs, 6 tables, and a single room. Today, the same facility includes meeting and presentation space, open workspace, a computer lab, and offices for the growing CTL staff, and coffee anytime the CTL is open, right? I would add that if you guys are ever on campus, come by and have coffee. In his role, John has also served unofficially as a role model and mentor to faculty at all stages of their professional careers. I would add to that, and the new college presidents too. He has been a liaison between faculty groups and between faculty and administration. He has been a confidant and a diplomat when those were needed most. Through his role as CTL director, John worked with other Gateway faculty to launch the Arizona Master Teacher Seminar, now known as Maricopa Excellence in Teaching program, a week-long retreat for Maricopa faculty that focuses on teaching and learning. John is currently the seminar director. Over 500 individual faculty members have attended the seminar since its inception. John describes his relationship to Gateway as a family affair. John himself graduated from Gateway in 1978. His wife, Deborah, who is here with him tonight, graduated before him in 1970. His son Daniel attended classes and tutored at Gateway, and his daughter Molly graduated with a degree in nuclear medicine technology. I'm so honored to present this to John Lampiano tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Wow, thank you. Well, for once, I'm almost speechless. First of all, I want to thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, for the wonderful words, and more importantly, the nomination as emeritus status. President Gutierrez, members of the board, my good friend Chancellor Harper Marin, Dr. Harper Marinick. I've known her as Maria, sorry. One more attempt there at that. I want to thank the Dr. Gonzalez and the Faculty Senate for this nomination. I'm truly touched. I also want to thank back in 1981 Dr. Charles Green for those that were here who first hired me and gave me an opportunity to serve on the faculty, as well as my good friend Alex Backus, who trusted me in regard to being a member of his program. The faculty and students, I cannot thank enough for being part of my professional life and my personal life, and for my wife, Deborah, and my family, who always were on my side. It's been a rewarding career at Gateway for the past 34 years as a member of the faculty. As I look back, I was honored to be surrounded by some of the finest and most dedicated faculty, administrators, and staff. Each of them are dedicated to our students and their success. The students I encountered have given me more joy than I could ever express. I saw many students who began lost in regard to the career goals to become successful professionals. It's not trite when I say that Gateway does change lives. I plan to enter the ranks of adjunct faculty in the spring semester. My love for teaching will continue to grow in this new role. As former director of the Center for Teaching and Learning, I've worked with some of the finest adjunct faculty. They always give their heart and soul to their students daily. I want to thank again Dr. Gonzalez, my colleagues at Gateway, the members of this board, President Gutierrez, Chancellor Dr. Harper Marinick for this opportunity to speak. And I'm truly touched. Gateway was a big part of my life and that of my family. And I hope I can continue to contribute back for the many things that you've given me over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
For Chandler Gilbert Community College, Mr. Guerrero,
May I approach the podium, President Gutierrez?
you may.
Thank you.
President Guerrero, before you get started, let me let everyone know, I should have made this announcement from the beginning, that Ms. Joanna Haver, a board member, cannot be with us physically today, but she is with us online. So she is listening and can participate at any time. So I wanted to let all of you know. Please proceed.
President Gutierrez, Chancellor Harper Marinick, members of the board and CEC and guests, it is my privilege this evening to present to you for emeritus status, Dr. Rosemary Leary. Dr. Leary's commitment to her students' learning and success, her passion for excellence in her work, and service to her profession at the national, state, district, and college levels represent a body of work leading us to recommending her for faculty emeritus distinction. During Dr. Leary's tenure with the Maricopa Community Colleges, her interest was and is on how students learn chemistry. Specifically, she focused on structuring chemistry content to engage her students while simultaneously facilitating their efforts to link abstract concepts with real-world problem solving. Dr. Leary has been an exceptional instructor, an educational leader, and an innovator during her entire career in Maricopa. She has taught courses ranging from fundamental chemistry to biochemistry and everything in between. Rosemary was one of the founding faculty members at Estrella Mountain Community College beginning in 1996. She served as EMCC's Faculty Senate President and she was a member of numerous college and district committees. While at EMCC, she was also a Maricopa Institute for Learning Fellow and a Maricopa Faculty China Fellow. Rosemary joined Chandler Gilbert's faculty in fall 2008 and served as a peer assistance and review mentor, the chemistry faculty liaison to the Learning Center, a Learning Summit team participant, the co-chair of the Maricopa Priorities College Steering Team, a faculty advisor, a member of the Program Review Task Force, and a member of the Biotechnology Advisory Board. Rosemary has been a vital member of the chemistry team at Chandler Gilbert, setting a standard of teaching excellence in the classroom and the laboratory. She has received numerous honors for innovation and has served as a reviewer for science periodicals, including the Journal of College Science Teaching and Science and Children. She also contributed to the National Science Foundation's Assessment of Student Achievement in Undergraduate Education and the National Research Council. Rosemary has led a remarkable career at Maricopa Community Colleges, and I'm honored to nominate her for Faculty Emeritus distinction this evening. Dr. Leary, would you like to say some words?
President Gutierrez, members of the board, Dr. Maria, because we've also known each other a long time, and the presidents of the colleges. I want to thank you and your predecessors for all of the opportunities that you allow us faculty to participate in. It's because of your generosity and your oversight of this district that you have faculty that can engage in the opportunities I've engaged in and bring those experiences back to help our students learn. Chemistry is not always the easiest subject to teach, as I'm sure many of you can imagine. And sometimes students walk in the classroom with a degree of apprehension, maybe downright fear sometimes. And it's because we go in so prepared that we're able to reach those students and help them to see not just that they can learn chemistry, but they can go on and use it in their lives, whatever those lives might be. I'd like to thank two presidents especially that are here, Dr. Laura and Dr. Guerrero. You two are from the colleges I've been at. I've known Ernie throughout my career here at Maricopa, and I've known Bill during my tenure at Chandler Gilbert. They have both been so supportive of us faculty, of helping us reach our heights so that we can reach our students and help our students learn. I can only stress students are the reason we're here. It was the reason I was here. My focus was always on student learning because it was about them reaching their goals so they could go out and lead the lives they want to lead. Why am I forgetting your name, John? I'm sitting here going, I've known this man for a long time. I actually participated in his master teacher seminar, and it was a fantastic week in the Pines. You can't just walk away from learning. It's something that's part of who we are, it's part of what we do, and hopefully it's part of what we leave behind us. So again, I want to thank all of you for the opportunities and for this honor. It's been great working for Maricopa. It's been a wonderful career. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is citizens interim, when the public can speak directly to the board. We have no request. Is there anyone here for that reason? If not, we will go on with the agenda. The Chancellor's report. Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, members of the board, CC, guests. Just sharing a few pieces of good news, I guess, as we start a new academic year and welcomed about over 95,000 students as of last week. So we know that enrollment continues, and I want to thank the college presidents, the faculty, the staff, and everyone who has done anything to recruit the students and make sure that they feel welcomed and that they get what they need from our colleges and our system. I would like to welcome formally two interim presidents to the board meeting. President Glendale Community College, Dr. Teresa Leiva Ruiz, thank you for agreeing to serve as interim. And we have at Mesa Community College, Sasan Puritizadi. And thank you, Sasan, for also agreeing to serve as interim president at the college. I have shared over email, but I think it's worth repeating that once again, the Maricopa system has earned a AAA bond rating, which is the highest possible rating that an institution can receive by the three major national rating agencies. And this AAA rating is just reaffirming the district's sound financial stewardship. And it was first earned in 2007, and since then we have maintained this rating throughout the year. So I would like to thank Vice Chancellor Gay Murphy and Associate Vice Chancellor Kim Granillo and everybody else from Business Services, because of their work is the result of this rating. So thank you so much on behalf of all of us. I'm also pleased to let you know that an item that was approved by the board earlier, a couple of months back, that allowed the district to refinance $191 million in general obligation bonds, that has been accomplished. And the debt service savings is substantially higher than the $3 to $5 million that we had originally estimated. The savings will actually be $20.6 million that we will not ask taxpayers to provide through property tax payments over the next 9 years. And I think that's worth celebrating, and again, thanking Vice Chancellor Murphy and everyone at Business Services for their work. And then lastly, I would like to let everyone know that we've gone through some restructuring efforts, and that beginning last week, we have moved the functions of the Maricopa Corporate College to Rio Salado College. So I want to thank President Chris Bustamante for being open and willing to make this work. And then we have the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation is now back with Gateway Community College. So thank you, President Gonzalez, for your work to make sure that both functions transition smoothly. And that is my report for tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Chancellor. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor reports, we have one, Vice Chancellor Shelton Johnson.
Thank you very much, President Gutierrez, members of the board. Just briefly, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce, for the first time, you're going to hear the update to the board from our newly elected classified staff council officers. The council was officially seated on July 5th. Leading the group are 5 officers that you'll hear from tonight, elected from within the council. These officers were sworn in on August 9th. This inaugural year of the Classified Staff Council includes members from each of our 11 different sites who are ready to fully represent the diverse interests of all of our classified employees. While this will be a challenging year, as the council will not only conduct regular functions and duties of this council, but it will also be establishing the infrastructure, processes, and practices that future councils will follow. So it is my pleasure to present the Classified Staff Council officers for fiscal year 2016 through 17. You will hear from Chris Bliss, the president, Adrian Hicks, the vice president and financial officer, Christy Warfield, the secretary and communications officer, Mike Fulton, the collaborative policy development officer, and Shannon Ridgway Monaco, the conflict resolution officer. I am pleased to welcome the officers to the first official board meeting in their new capacity. Thank you.
Ms. Bliss.
Good evening, President Gutierrez. Oops, I hit something on the. Governing board members, Chancellor Harper-Marinick, members of CEC and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about our new Classified Staff Council. As you know, Maricopa employees recently elected representatives and officers as part of the continuing process of merging employee groups, and we know there is much work to be done. During a recent officers meeting, we each identified what brought us to our new roles. We found that each of us is eager to support a council whose tenets embrace consistency, respect, growth, and value of employees, inclusiveness, and clear communication. It's important to mention these words because they apply to the work we want to accomplish and the culture the Classified Staff Council hopes to play an instrumental part in creating within the district. The council wants to create and enhance consistency in all areas within Maricopa, work to ensure our employees are treated respectfully, continue to provide meaningful opportunities for employees to grow professionally and personally, ensure employees know that they are valued within the organization regardless of their job title, and last but not least, to provide clear, relevant, and consistent communication to all. We have established our officer responsibilities and are excited to concentrate our efforts to that end. Our council is made up of dedicated Maricopa employees from each campus and unit and through various classifications. We are confident that we have a great team of council members, and we are excited to work collaboratively in partnership with you all, hearing and acting on the interests of classified employees and moving Maricopa forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Thank you very much, Ms. Bliss.
Thank you.
We now move on to the approval of the order of the agenda. And before we hear a motion to approve, I would like to amend that order so that item 14.1 would now appear after 16.4. So I would move item 14.1 to 16.4. With that amendment, is there a motion to approve the order of the agenda? Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Before we go on to the consent agenda, does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Farr?
Just to let people know that 14.1 is a consent agenda item, which will now be put into the non-consent items.
There is a, let me explain that. I think everyone on the board knows, but for the public, there is a conflict issue. One of our members would be in conflict were that person to vote on the item. And our rules require that when we go to that item, that individual leave the building and be in exile. No, actually, it just has to step out of the room, and then he can come back. But we won't tell him what happened. So that's why we've moved the agenda item. So with that explanation, is there a motion on the consideration of consent items?
I move approval.
You've heard that motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and second on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Consideration of non-consent items. The first item is proposed deletion of workforce and economic development policies. Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, members of the board. Item 15.1 and .2 are related. We have engaged in conversations at a couple of meetings on changing language in the policy that is related to the board outcomes. And the process asks for us to bring to you the language that we're deleting for your approval. And then the next item will be what changes we have made, and we'll also ask for your approval.
Is there a motion?
I move under 15.1 that the current workforce policy 1.2 is deleted.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments? Questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 15.2, Chancellor.
Is the proposing adoption of the new language for board policy 1.2 related to workforce and economic development.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
A second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Sure.
Mr. Sarr.
Thank you, Chairman. we've been working on this for the better part of a year, actually, to make sure that our workforce policies in terms of our outcomes are relevant to the needs of today's workforce needs. And our business and industry partners have been very vocal about their needs for a well-trained workforce. And even though we did have some legitimate policy items in the past, this current one is much more specific and much more current to the 21st century. And I think those involved, include the board and administration, have done a good job in bringing forth not only those policy items, but the ability to measure their success. That's as important as the policy themselves. So I want to commend all those members that the Chancellor has provided to us of our staff and the board members themselves for the efforts that they've put together to come up with these new policies. And we will start collecting data on them this current calendar year, current school year. We'll see the first monitoring report that includes these in November of next year, of 2017. So we look forward to that whole process, and we will look forward to making sure that if any other adjustments in some of the specific items over the course of time need to be made, that the board will have the opportunity to look at those and make sure that we have the appropriate outcomes for the needs of today's industry partners. Thank you.
15.2 has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item 16, business services, the approval, conceptual approval for the water conservation program for the district. Vice Chancellor Murphy.
We're requesting, the request is to provide conceptual approval for a new water conservation program. The total budget for the district is $1,330,000. The new water conservation program is an effort to help Maricopa both reduce expenditures for water and to model the way as an institution concerned about sustainability, both for our communities and for our students.
Is there a motion? And then we'll open up for comments. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Ms. McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm baffled as to why we need to spend this much money on just reducing water usage. What's the justification for this, Ms. Murphy, please?
Ms. McGrath, I believe that part of this will be a study and part of it will be looking at separate metering of buildings so that we can better understand what the water usage is across the district and then know our capacity for making those reductions.
Mr. President, Ms. Murphy, I still don't understand why it'll take $1,330,000. Will that pay for meters? What will this do? You've just described a study. Are we going to spend that much money on a study?
Much of that, I believe, is for the study, although with Maricopa being the size of the district with the square footage that we cover, we are such an absolutely large place that part of it would be a very sophisticated study audit of our water use, so we know where to look.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Mr. Sarr.
And hopefully, in the end, this will be an investment, and our annual water bill is substantial if I add up all the elements that have to do with water in our district. We're probably one of the larger water users, non-industrial, in the county. So if we can reduce our water consumption and in turn the amount of money we pay for that water, especially as the price of water increases as it has been projected, I hope that this is a good investment, and the study will give us a measuring point to make sure that we monitor the success of that study. So I'm in favor of doing this, but I also want to make sure that in the end, that we see that this has been a good investment for us.
Further discussion? 16.1 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Would the secretary please note that there are 2 noes?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
what was the vote on that, please? It
The-
passed by a vote of 3
The
to
vote
2.
was 4 to 2.
I didn't hear 4 votes. I only heard 3.
Let's do a roll call, please.
Mrs. McGrath,
Nay.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
I can't hear anything.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Ms. Haber, we're about to begin a roll call.
Okay, thank
On
you.
16.1, the conceptual approval of the water conservation program that we discussed in the agenda review. And so it's been moved and seconded, and we will now proceed with the roll call vote.
It's off.
Nay.
You're up.
I vote aye.
Ms. Haber votes aye.
Mr. Burke,
Aye.
Mr. Czar,
Aye.
Mr. Heap,
Nay.
Mr. Gutierrez.
Aye.
And the vote is 4 to 2.
By a vote of 4 to 2, we have approved 16.1, the conceptual approval for water conservation programs. 16.2, this is to approve a contract award for a fire alarm system replacement and upgrade. Ms. Murphy, Vice Chancellor Murphy.
Mr. Gutierrez, governing board members, this is a recommendation for board approval of a contract for a new fire alarm system in the district office building. The cost is $409,006. In addition to fire alarm, the new system will include the capability of providing voice notification in case of other types of emergencies, which is a very desirable service these days, and is one of the things that we really need to do to have a fully functioning public building.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. McGrath?
Mr. President, Ms. Murphy, was there a possibility of separating the bids of the fire alarm system and the notification system? Because I'm not very certain we need to spend a lot of money on the notification. And what would be the difference in the two if they were bid that way, if you know?
Mr. President, Ms. McGrath, it's one system. It's just that the fire alarm system we have in the building now is so old that in installing a modern system, this is how they come now.
Thank you. And how old is our system?
I believe it is at least 20 to 25 years old. It dates back to the age of the building.
Thank you.
Mr. Heap?
Has the system failed?
Mr. Heap, would you talk into the microphone?
I'm sorry, has the, all due respect, has the system failed? Because there's a lot of systems out there older than that that's been very efficient. And fires are down to less than 0.5% of fire department calls. They're usually emergency calls for EMTs and so on and so forth.
Mr. President, Mr. Heap, to my knowledge, the system has not failed, but the system is such that it is no longer maintainable. We can't get parts or improvements for it. And there are other types of emergencies in addition to fire for which we may need to notify folks to evacuate the building or to take cover.
Mr. Sarr?
that last comment is something we don't have now, and the world is a different world than it was 25, 30 years ago. The ability to let everybody in the building know to stay in place or whatever the emergency might be is just as important in today's world as letting them know there's a potential fire somewhere or other hazard. So I just think it's time. We have it throughout the other areas of our district as well. It's probably time that this building came up to those same standards.
Further discussion? If not, Mr. Heath.
Just a thought is from a survey that I heard that if we have 100% participation in smartphones with the students, couldn't we give them an alert through their own system rather than adding the cost? Because the state is doing all notifications of dust storms, rain, whatever.
Mr. President, Mr. Heap, that is true. You know, employees could sign up for that, but we do have a lot more individuals who visit the district office besides just employees that would also benefit from this type of notice.
Thank you.
Further discussion? If not, item 16.2, the approval of the fire alarm system has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Ms. McGrath, would you like a roll call vote?
No, sir.
Okay. 16.3. This is approving the job order, contracting purchase order for the Veteran Services Building expansion and remodel at Glendale Community College. Ms. Murphy.
Mr. President, governing board members, this is a request to approve a job order, contracting purchase order of $949,871.99 for the Veteran Service Building at Glendale Community College. This is an increased cost in the original estimate of $225,000, but it will be covered through savings from the T2 building remodel. The added cost will support changes to make the Veterans Center more accessible to those with severe handicaps who need more space to maneuver wheelchairs and other adaptive devices.
You've heard the explanation of 16.3. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 16.4. The District Property and Casualty Insurance Program Renewal. Vice Chancellor Murphy.
Mr. President, board members, Chancellor Harper-Marinick, we're requesting approval for renewal of the district's property and casualty insurance program. The renewal price will be $2,236,937, and it's actually a slight reduction from the current year premium, something that doesn't happen every day. So we're very pleased to present that to you for your approval.
You've heard the explanation. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr.
Ms.
President.
McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Murphy, I see on the second bullet point there, it says workers' compensation payroll increased 2%. Does that mean we added more employees or that our payroll went up? How do you explain that one?
Okay, for the workers' compensation, we are self-insured, so that is just the premium. We did not increase significantly in the number of payroll, but that was the rate return for the workers' compensation piece.
Mr. President, Ms. Murphy,
Ms. McGrath.
did our payroll increase because we had more accidents last year? Are we more accident prone than we have been in the past?
Mr. Gutierrez, Mrs. McGrath, I don't think so, but I would have to defer to Sherry Swain on specific questions about that.
Mr. President, Ms. Murphy, is she present this evening?
She is here and approaching the podium, please. Ma'am, did you hear the question?
I did, thank you. President Gutierrez, Board Member Mrs. McGrath. Actually, payroll, I believe that number increased might have been due to the increase in salaries. I don't necessarily know that it was added employees. And it certainly has anything to do with accidents. So the rate was a rate guarantee, excuse me, for 2 years, so that remained the same, but the rate per payroll went up just 2%.
Ms. McGrath.
Mr. President, I didn't write down your name, I'm sorry.
Sherry Swain.
Swain?
Yes, S-W-A-I-N.
Thank you very much. I know you, but I'm lousy with names. I still don't understand why we would have a 2% increase. Our payroll didn't go up, and our accident rate did not go up. I'm a little bit baffled. What would cause that?
What we do is we receive payroll from our payroll department, and we turn it into our carrier, who then uses based really on just rate experience across the nation, our own experience. They come up with a rate factor, and based on the payroll that we submitted, I can't really answer the question as to if it's due to more employees, an increase in salary. I just know what was submitted to risk management, and then that is given to our broker and to the carrier. The rate itself did not increase, just the payroll increased by 2%, and I honestly can't answer
Mr. Chairman?
why that is.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
and then Chancellor. Mr.
Yeah.
Burke.
This board approved a 2% increase in salaries for next year. And that is consistent with what we approved when we passed the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
It
Chancellor.
was the same comment, just to remind everyone that employees received a step or a COLA, and probably the average of that is pretty close to 2%. So that's the reason. So it's not necessarily more employees, but we're all getting a little bit more money.
And just also so you know, that's a projected number, because this goes into effect October 1st, and every year an audit is done. So if there's was a different payroll number at the end of that audit, at the end of the year, there's either more money due or we receive a credit to our premium.
Further questions? Further comments? If not, the approval is moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now revert to item 14.1.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sarr.
I am the individual who has a potential conflict, since the leasee in this case is a client of mine. So I will step out of the room, and if you would let me know when you're done, I might come back.
We might let you know. We might not. Let the minutes show that Mr. Sarr has left the room. Item 14.1 is to approve the lease of space at Rio Downtown. I believe that's Vice Chancellor Murphy.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, board members, Chancellor Harper-Marinick. This is indeed a lease of space, 3 classrooms. at the Rio Salado downtown facility on North 7th Avenue to Chicanos por la Casa, Arizona. Again, the lease is 3 classrooms, $4 per square foot. The term of the lease is 60 months. The lease will increase at 2.5% annually. The lease amount includes a $1 per square foot reduction, so that it's actually a reduction in the market rate for educational experiences that Chicanos por la Casa will provide. Chicanos por la Casa also will be paying the monthly maintenance on the common areas.
You've heard the explanation. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 4, Mr. Sar, please. Ms. Haber, Mr. Sar is joining us.
You lost again.
The following items are information items. The first is number 17.1, Human Resources, Vice Chancellor.
Thank you very much, President Gutierrez, members of the board. These are the employment numbers, hires, and separations for the period of June and July of this year. We are combining those numbers given there was no board meeting in July. For that time period, June and July, we had a total of 65 new hires and a total of 52 separations.
Any comments? If not, we move on to item 18, Business Services. This is the Budget Analysis Report, Fund 1. Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, board members, Chancellor Harper Marinick. I have for presentation the year-end budget report for fiscal year 15-16, our year that just ended. Again, this is the general operating fund. We're projecting or showing $655 million of revenues, $655 million of expenditures, $660.4 million in revenue. We have maintained the mandatory 8% set aside for financial stability. That's $52.8 million, and we have a plan for most of the fund balance, ending with an undesignated fund balance of $900,000.
Any questions or discussion? If not, do you have another report, Ms. Burke? Or did you combine them?
No, sir. Mr. Gutierrez, that was the report for the last fiscal year end. The second report will be for the first month of the current fiscal year.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, Governing Board, Chancellor Harper Marinick. This would be a budget analysis report for the first month of our fiscal year. That's our month of July. And being so new into the fiscal year, most of our expenditures really are consistent with what we've seen in the first year of the fiscal year in first month of the fiscal year of prior years.
Thank you. Community Linkage Governing Board reports. Mr. Burke.
It has been a quiet July, but I did have one obligation. Ms. Haver and I have been serving on a screening committee for legal counsel. Mr. Starr joined that committee halfway through, so in the last month I've been serving on that screening committee.
Mr. Starr.
July is one of those months when we can relax a little bit. I did join the committee for putting together the search for our new legal counsel and enjoying that process, making progress. And I look forward to getting back into the swing of things and meeting with our students again and as the school year progresses, and knowing that football season and our 4 football teams are practicing. Those games are coming up. As I said every year, it's important that we as a board and those of us that have the ability to go to those games, it is the best deal going. I would suggest that you can take a $5 bill as an entrance fee, park within 200 feet of the front gate, and sit at the 50-yard line. You cannot do that at ASU or the Cardinals games. So get your priorities where they belong, and we'll see you at those games.
Ms. Haver.
I'd like to take a moment to express my appreciation for all the support I've received while going through this process. For those that don't know, I have breast cancer. However, it's working out very well. I'm having chemotherapy treatments every week. I'm halfway through them. My tumor has shrunk considerably. I expect to be back for the general meeting in October. And you can imagine I am extremely grateful to professors such as the one that we awarded emeritus to tonight, Rosemary Leary, because it's her work that is really saving my life. One of the wonder drugs used for me has only been on the market for 2 years. And so I expect to have a full recovery, and I'm looking so forward to return back to be with all of you again.
Ms. Haver, we truly miss you.
Thank you.
Mr. Heap.
It's been a short month, but I attended a very enthusiastic Scottsdale nurses pinning, and which is always great, and I wish them all well in the future. We've been just attending a couple board meetings and policy meetings and budget and finance, and so, hey, we're ready to go for September. Thank you.
Ms. McGrath.
No report, Mr. President.
And in my case, I can tell you that I've enjoyed not doing nada empanada this month, but I look forward to getting involved. In fact, it's already begun. I was involved also in the legal counsel search and in discussion, and we'll be moving forward pretty aggressively. We do have one final item on the agenda, and that is the external community reports. Mr. Burke.
The AADGB will meet on September 8 in the afternoon prior to the Governance Institute on Student Success, which begins on the evening of September 8 and continues on September 9 and 10 at the Maricopa Corporate College facility. And I remind most of us were at that meeting last year and had a wonderful discussion about student success, and we want to continue that this year. So that comes up in just a few weeks.
Mr. Sarr.
The Arizona School Board Association is holding their legal council or legal conference next month, and that is by far, in the 20 years that I've been going to that, the most effective conference that I attend every year. Nothing else. You realize that you're one step away from going to jail in this position, and we all are in that boat. But it is a good conference. It does really give you some important information to keep this district and ourselves within the legal realms. And also to talk about the ACCT, the Association of Community College Trustees. We are approaching October, and that will be our national conference held this year in New Orleans. If it comes above water, we'll have a good conference there too. I've seen the the agenda, and there are some great speakers and numerous sessions that are very relevant to our situation here at Maricopa.
Let me announce the meeting dates for the immediate future. The September 13th, there will be agenda review at 4:30 in the afternoon, and a board work session at 5:35 that same evening. September 27th, Budget and Finance Committee meeting at 5:30, and our regular board meeting at 6:30. Unless there is any item from the Chancellor or the board, this meeting stands adjourned.